past few entries into the Assassin's Creed series have had mixed reviews with fans. If you've been playing this series since the very beginning, it's likely that you're not happy with the direction in which Ubisoft have taken, but that's why with Assassin's Creed Mirage, they're going back to the original roots. They're moving away from the RPG type of game back to a narrative-driven open world, and it's led to quite a few fans being somewhat hopeful for the series. So in this video, we're going to be going over why Mirage is already better than what we've seen in previous years. Firstly, parkour. It goes without saying that parkour will always be a crucial part to the series, but it was not a priority with Origins, Odyssey and Valhalla. Reason for this is because the world was just so massive. Ubisoft moved away from these densely layered cities to these massive open spaces, and it meant that some of those parkour animations were just not needed. So instead of those animations remaining as part of the game when they were never going to be used, Ubisoft removed them, and it's continued to happen more and more and more. With Mirage, those animations are now coming back because they're moving back to a densely layered city, so they're going to be required. Not just that, but Ubisoft are also adding a lot more animations on top. Ubisoft have said that Basim will be the most agile as well as fast-paced assassin up until this point. Parkour is going to feel more fluid as well as a lot faster. The second reason is stealth. Stealth is very similar to parkour in that it is an essential part to Assassin's Creed, but yet again, because Ubisoft tried to make the worlds as big as possible, it meant whilst they were trying to make the world filled with loads of different activities, they didn't go as deep on some of those core components, especially within stealth. For the majority of the missions, even though there's a few where you do have the option for stealth, it's extremely basic. Majority of the time, players would just be placed right in front of the person that they'll need to assassinate, and they could just run through, kill them, and then run away. It's just not needed within the game. When partaking in activities such as river raids, stealth never plays a part, and within the odd few missions where it was required or even optional, the detection system was extremely hit and miss. This wasn't at all ideal. Ubisoft has even acknowledged all of these problems, that in Valhalla there wasn't enough stealth involved within the game, and stealth that was implemented wasn't implemented well. With Mirage, they're trying to go a lot deeper with this. It's going to be one of their main priorities. They've looked at all the previous titles, figured out exactly what players enjoyed about stealth, and tried to make it even better with Mirage. And whilst we're on the topic of stealth, there will also be some missions related to stealth that will be making their way back to the Assassin's Creed series. All the way back in Assassin's Creed 1, you were able to raid someone's rooftop garden. These types of rooftop missions will be returning in Assassin's Creed Mirage. Not only does this involve stealth, but it also links back to the parkour point that we was talking about earlier. Ubisoft are really trying to incorporate more of all the components that did make Assassin's Creed what it is today, but sort of lost touch in recent years. Yeah, again, these missions will be available because it's going to be a densely layered city, whereas recent titles, because they were so open, there was no real need for there to be any rooftop assassinations, parkour, stealth, you name it, just because it didn't suit the game as much as what it did in previous years. The third thing, assassination missions. Ubisoft are bringing back the black box missions. These are not new, these were part of Assassin's Creed Unity, and the idea behind them is that for your assassination target is someone very specific, but it will also put you in an area where it's open. It's open to allow you to find the best possible way that suits your playstyle into entering a certain location and being able to finally assassinate your target. If you do want to just run in and kill your target right there in front of everyone and alerting all nearby enemies, then I'm sure you could probably do that. But if you want to take a stealthier approach, you can take your time to listen into nearby NPCs with the conversations they're having. Maybe you'll find a secret door, maybe you'll find a hidden key, or maybe you'll just learn the paths in which certain enemies will be taken. That way you can stealthily hide or even sneak into the location, assassinate your target and get out without ever being detected. All of this will be backed by the new stealth system that we just mentioned and also the new parkour system. This will also help with the replayability side of things. Recent titles, because they're so long in length within the story, that there is no real reason for you to go back and try to replay missions. There's just a lack of replayability. But with these, as there will be multiple paths that you can take, it does open a door for, if you enjoy a particular type of mission, you can go back, play it, and have a completely different experience. Number 4. Ubisoft are incorporating old school mission designs. You are no longer going to have 20 to 30 minute missions. They are going to be a lot shorter. It's going to be straight to the point and getting right involved with all the action. In Assassin's Creed Valhalla, missions were long. They wouldn't just involve one task either. You will need to go to a set location, speak to someone, have about a 3 to 4 minute dialogue of them just talking about their issues. Then you'll go and try and solve their issues by going to a different location, and that will carry on going on for about 20 to 30 minutes. It made each mission less interesting than the last. The game also didn't involve much information when going through these missions because of the branching dialogue. This meant that they strategically needed to hold back information so that you would go through the different dialogue options that were available so that you can get more. It played a part, but unfortunately it did also mean that you was doing nothing. It's not fun to sit there and just listen. You want to be playing the game. And Ubisoft realized all of this. They're going back to the old school layout. Missions will not be freakishly long. They're going to be straight to the point, action packed, and there will be no branching dialogue. You go and talk to someone, you're going to have a set script that's going to be laid out for you, and there's going to be a set beginning and a set end to the story. Number 5. The focus is back on assassins. Origins certainly did have a focus on assassins, pretty much how they started, but with Odyssey and Valhalla, it wasn't. Most long-term players would say that these are not Assassin's Creeds. With Valhalla, you were a Viking. That's the main point. And even though it's not necessarily bad being a Viking, it didn't really fit with the series. Well, at least that's what's been said by a lot of players. The thing that linked to Assassins the most was Basim, as well as you also visiting some of the old Assassin bureaus, which would give you exclusive items that you were able to unlock as well as wear. With a lot of these titles, you don't feel like you're an assassin until the very end of the game. And as we've already discussed, the game is long. But with Mirage, this is going to be different. You're not going to be an assassin at the beginning, you're going to be a street thief, but this plays a very short part. And as from that point, you will be an assassin. You will start as an apprentice, but gradually over time, you will build yourself up to be a master assassin. And this is what fans really want. They want you to play as an assassin within a game called Assassin's Creed. And this will definitely invite back some of those original Assassin's Creed fans back into the franchise. Number 6. The world will be smaller but more dense. Now we have briefly talked about this already, but it is definitely a big selling point. For some fans, they think bigger is better, but based on audience retention, we already know that that isn't true. Ubisoft spent all of this time working on Valhalla only for it to get a 20% retention rate, which meant for the majority of the fans that bought the game, they never completed it. That is a problem either with gameplay or most likely length. The game was way too long that for a lot of the time, Ubisoft spent all of their time working on these particular types of missions or trying to evolve the story arc, only for fans never to play it. From Ubisoft's point of view, this is a complete waste of money. They spent all of this time for employee salaries as well as hiring people to create assets, program, design the game, only for it to never be seen by a large proportion of fans. This is why Ubisoft are taking this direction with Mirage. It is going to be a lot shorter so that the audience retention will be higher. There will be a lot more players that will be able to start the game as well as finish the game. But for those that do still want to play through more content, you can do so. It's just going to be outside the main story. You will still be able to find loads of events around the world. And this is why the world's going to be smaller, but it's going to be more dense. This is exactly what they mean by this. Instead of activities being spread out across a massive world, everything's going to be closer together, and it should hopefully lead to there being a lot more polish and a much more immersive experience. Linking into this is number 7, and we did also briefly talk about this. This is the length of the game. This is probably one of the most distinct features that makes Assassin's Creed Mirage better than Valhalla. Valhalla was just way too long. It was a 40 to 60 hour story, plus on top of that there were separate DLCs, each being 10 to 20 hours in length. And a lot of this was just going through repetitive tasks over and over again. Really, Ubisoft just tried to stretch it out as much as possible because they also wanted to incorporate those RPG elements, which requires it to be a longer game. Ubisoft are taking that classic approach, a much shorter story being 20 hours, and it has been confirmed that there is going to be no DLC. Now, with there being no DLC, that is slightly disappointing. I would have liked to see it a bit more, and this is probably one of those areas where Valhalla beats Mirage. But I think, just strictly speaking from story length, a lot more players are going to be able to sit there, play through it without it getting repetitive too quickly. The second missions start to feel like they're just being repeated over and over again is also the second where you're starting to come towards the end of the game anyway. And that's where the narrative arc really starts to build up and you become more intrigued in what's going to happen next. To put things simply, Assassin's Creed Mirage is going back to the classic style of the Assassin's Creed games. A dense city with dozens of targets to assassinate, all mixed with a compelling storyline, and this has been something that's been missing from recent titles. Now, if you do want to learn a bit more about Assassin's Creed Mirage, then we have already got a video here on this channel which runs through everything. Not just some of the points which are going to be better than recent titles, but everything that you need to know. We're talking about the storyline, parkour, stealth, assassinations, Basim as the main character, and all the tools as well as equipment that he will be using. If you do want to click that video, then it is available right in front of you on screen right now. If you click that video, it'll take you directly over there and then we can go through things together. So click that and I'll be over there with you to guide you through everything.